There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart, that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Welcome to the show, Gore.
Well, I'm happy to be on it.
Well, I have some great wishes from all my listeners. They hope that you're feeling well, because we had you planned a few weeks ago, but your health wouldn't permit it. So my listeners are very excited you're going to be on the show. I'm very excited. And so thank you for taking the time to be on Cindy Sheehan Soapbox.
Good. And I'm so, my gallbladder was so excited that we had to remove it so that I could go on comfortably. And here I am without a gallbladder.
But the first thing I'd like to ask you today, and that my listeners are very interested in, how do you evaluate the Obama administration in its first 6 months, where you have been really a pretty strident critic of the the so-called two-party system here in America?
Well, I'm glad you said so-called.
Yeah.
It seems like the Democratic Party is four parties now. You know, the very right wing, the so-sos, and so on. I would say, just to kick the ball a bit, I'm alarmed by Obama.
Uh-huh.
I became alarmed when he was talking about the secret to victory, and God knows it's so important for Americans to win because we're number one,
right?
Except where we're number 1 million from the bottom. And it's so important that we win in the Middle East. And somehow or other, his predecessors had forgotten Afghanistan. You must remember that our leaders for 20 years have been noticeable cowards.
Mm-hmm.
They're people who wouldn't fight in any wars, but they're a lot in favor of them if there was money to be made out of it.
Right.
So to have the most cowardly ruling class, I mean, look at the Bush people. Has anybody read that you come across a marvelous book called Family of Secrets? A civilized country would allow this family, who make the Borgias look like Santa Claus and his merry minions.
In that book, Family of Secrets, one of the most fascinating things that I've learned about was that Russ Baker thinks that there is a connection between George H.W. Bush and the Kennedy assassination.
It's fascinating, yeah. Well, you see, being a good researcher, he knows things that most contemporary historians don't understand. He was correct in making it a family affair, family secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And what was George Bush, the father,
right,
doing in Dallas on the day Jack was killed? What was he doing there? He'd been head of the FBI. He was marinated to his eyeballs in CIA.
Well, who do you think really was responsible for 9/11? Do you really think it was Osama? And
well, let's let him have credit. He wants it.
Mm-hmm.
If I had done it, I wouldn't want credit because it didn't turn out. It made a great mess. It frightened the United States. Well, I must say it did one great thing. If you hate the United States, which these people apparently do, have proven elsewhere that they do, what greater thing than to get rid of the Republic, to get rid of due process of law? That was one of the first things we lost.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, the day that habeas corpus died and the USA Patriot Act. So, that attack really accomplished a lot.
You know one detail about the USA Patriot Act, which was not even the Soviet Union at its very worst ever came up with anything like that.
Right.
But there it is. And you know where the Bush people got it from? Could you tell us something so that this is not an enigma for all time? Why you did it? It's very rare somebody who doesn't like the Pure Drug and Food Act comes along and blows up a building filled with presumably innocent bureaucrats.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you do it? And he said, well, Your Honor, the only time he spoke in his own trial. This is himself, Timothy McVeigh. He said, I have listened to the people who think I am guilty, and I am certainly guilty of the crime of which I am accused. I did blow up that building. He said, and I will try to make myself clear briefly. He already understood TV talk.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I am going to quote to you Justice Brandeis in his dissent in the Olmsted case in 1920 or whatever it was. And he said, I think it applicable to what I did. It's the first time he's spoken.
Mm-hmm.
The judge said, well, do you want to read it? He said, no, I know it by heart.
By such actions as his volume by such actions as his volume by such actions as his volume how come I can't say that? By such actions by such actions as his voluminous. What's the difference between voluminous? By such actions as his vast output of essays and a public debate with William F. Buckley Jr.,